One day away, folks. Weigh-ins are officially finished, and this is the exact reason that I was talking about earlier of wanting to see the weigh-ins before I make my full fight predictions. You have no idea if someone's going to have a really shitty weight cut, i.e., Giga Chikadze. Came in at 147 pounds. He is the only fighter on the fight card that missed weight. Just goes to show you once again that there are not enough weight classes in the UFC. 20-pound differences once you get above 155 is crazy. Um, these guys have to choose between 135 and 145 or 145 and 155, and that's a big jump. So it sucks. He's going to lose half his fight purse. He must have struggled to get the weight off. I don't really know if he's missed weight before, but this is, one of two things usually happens. Either the person that missed weight didn't suffer as much as their opponent and they come out the fresher fighter, or it was a really devastating weight cut. He missed weight and he's not going to perform well tomorrow. So that's pretty much the only big news from the weigh-ins. Ian Gary looked good. Pretty interesting to see that he has a cut that looks to be not fully healed yet. I saw a couple pictures of it earlier on in the week and it looked a lot worse, but that is a fresh scab slash scar. It's not going to take much to open that up. It's not in a bad spot. Like, it's not above the eyebrow, so I don't think it's going to cause any issues if it does open up. But nonetheless, interesting to see that come fight the day before fight day, it's still very noticeable. Not sure if one of his training partners caught him with an accidental elbow or what happened, but not ideal to have a fresh wound that is kind of just healing as you're about to get in a fight with Carlos Prates. So I don't think anyone else really. David Onama. God, I hope he gets slept. You can tell he went through it too. His weight cut probably sucks. I think the whole MMA community, or at least I do, wants to see him lose. And then we got Lionheart making his last walk to the scale. This is allegedly his last fight in the UFC. Please, God, make it true. I'm tired of watching this fucking guy make the walk. Just keeping as an analyst. Really, I hope it's a true retirement and he doesn't give us one of those faux retirements. But everyone looked good. Carlos Prates, I think, was the second one to the scale. Fresh off smoking cigs and crushing whiskey. Doesn't look sunk in at all. I'd be curious as to what he walks around at. Ian Gary definitely walks around a lot heavier than Prates, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Because he's 2 inches taller, but I mean he's a lot thicker. You can tell he holds a little bit more weight in his legs. Prates is a lot more legs than Ian Gary, but all right. Let's make some fight predictions here, yeah? So we got Jocelyn Edwards And Chelsea Chandler just starting this card off with a bang. Jocelyn Edwards is a heavy favorite, minus 320, as she probably should be. Like I mentioned in my previous video, she's got pretty slick striking. Um, so not surprising that she's a heavy favorite here. We are gonna be pretty much right on with everyone else. We are gonna be taking Edwards. We got Timmy versus Romero. Timmy is Timmy really needs a fight, a win here. Um, he is 0-3 since he got in the UFC. 0-2. So you can bet the house on the fact that he's going to lose his contract if he does not win this fight. Odds are pretty even. Um, this is a make or break for Timmy. I think Roberto gets it done. Only thing is that when someone knows, at least Timmy should know that his contract is on the line, he should be coming out, balls out, leaving it all in there, just like a Dana White Contender Series fight. Stakes are super high. So he could come out and perform very well, but I don't think that he's going to get it done. I think Romero is going to continue his streak. We will likely see Timmy be cut. See you later. All right, moving on. These odds are crazy. Being a minus 1150 in a women's fight, like, that's such a kick in the nuts. Imagine having those fight odds. And this isn't like you're fighting Amanda Nunes. You're fighting her most recent win was against Demopoulos. She's 9-1. It's crazy. Like I genuinely don't understand how the odds could be that stacked. Honestly, women's fights, in my opinion, are always toss-ups. There's really hardly ever are you gonna end up with a finish. I don't know the stat on finish rates in the UFC for women, but I'd be hard pressed to say that it's a high percentage. So, but the fact that all the majority of women's fights go to a decision, it's it's a toss up usually. All right, Wellmaker versus Simon. I'm super jacked for this fight. I think it's going to be a very high pace fight. Wellmaker is more explosive. He's definitely a stronger, more athletic fighter than Cameron Simon. We've seen Simon get battered. His last fight out was, I believe, when he got TKO'd. If it wasn't his last one, yeah, he got smoked by Peyton Talbot. Which again, and Talbot isn't a scrub by any means. Talbot was on a rocket ship up until he was on, I believe, the main card on that last pay per view he was on. And his jiu-jitsu got exposed for not being good. His ground game definitely needs an improvement, but nonetheless, Cameron Simon got TKO'd pretty viciously in his last fight, so I'm sure he wants to get back in the win column. And this is Malcolm's first fight in the UFC coming out of his Dana White Contender Series fight, which he won by TKO. He doesn't seem like the type that's going to bring this fight to a decision. He's only had 2 decisions in his entire career. So that's what leads me to believe this is going to be a very exciting fight. We've obviously got Cameron Simon, who's a bit tested a bit already in the UFC. He's got some wins under his belt in the promotion. Then you got Malcolm, who is trying to win his debut. I'm going to go with Malcolm on this one. Odds have it pretty even, but I think this is either going to be an early finish. We don't really know what Malcolm's gas tank looks like, especially with this high of pressure of a fight, it being his debut. But I see this either being a first round finish or a decision win by a Wellmaker. Moving on, Damon Blackshear and Alan Tengeli. Pretty crazy odds on this one too. I mean, it's not like Damon Blackshear is some standout prospect. He's got one of the only twisters, I believe. He's got one of the handful. But again, those are pretty stacked odds. Did he twister Stamen? Hmm. So super big height advantage, 5 inches. That's 100% going to play into this fight. 6-inch reach advantage. It's a tough fight. He's got to make the distance more manageable. I mean, that's going to be a difficult reach to overcome. So I can see why the odds are stacked against him. But neither of these guys are a huge standout to me. Let's see here. Lost to Chris Gutierrez, beat Chad Enhelliger. I don't know. This one's a toss-up for me, truly. I'm probably going to be leaning towards Damon. But that one could go either way, in my opinion. It could. Chris Gutierrez versus John Castaneda. I like this fight. I like Chris Gutierrez. Chris Gutierrez usually puts on a pretty entertaining fight. He's got some fun striking. John Castaneda is also a pretty fun fight. Lost his last fight, so he's coming off of a loss. So he's 2-1 in his last 3. I'm a big fan of Chris Gutierrez. I kind of always have been. I think he always gives us super entertaining fights. And he beat who Damon Blackshear is fighting. Ala Tengali. So he's got a dub over him. He's 5'9". That's shorter than Damon Blackshear. He didn't have as big of a reach advantage either. So I'm not saying that Chris Gutierrez is indicative of Damon Blackshear beating him as well, but I like Chris Gutierrez in this fight. Odds are pretty similar, but I'm going to be leaning Chris Gutierrez in this fight. I like Gutierrez a lot. Elder versus Young, and this is the fight that got kind of reorganized because Ahmed is a pedo. So he got his ass cut from the promotion and arrested, rightfully so. So they scrambled really quick and put this together. Not that it was like a high profile fight and was hard to fill. I'm sure they've got no shortage of guys that are hungry to make their UFC debut. So they went ahead and filled Evan Elder's opponent with Gage Young. So he lost in September in a unanimous decision on Dana White Contender Series, and then went and won in another promotion, some looks like regional promotion. So making his UFC debut. Honestly, for late notice and fighting against someone that's got 4 fights in the UFC, that's pretty similar odds. This guy's 2-2 in the UFC. Hasn't fought anybody really worth a shit. But I could see this one going either way. This guy's going to be hungry. Last time he had the opportunity to get into the UFC, came up short. I'm sure if he's worth his weight in anything, he corrected what went wrong. He made some improvements since Dana White's last seen him. So I'm going to go with Gage Young on this one. I know coming in short notice usually doesn't favor the short notice fighter. But if this guy was training and in shape for this fight already, coming in short notice isn't as bad as someone that's not in the gym ready for a fight. So we don't really know if he was or not, but just on the fact that he's coming in with a chip on his shoulder, didn't perform very well in his last opportunity to make it in the UFC, I'm going to go with the short notice cat. All right. So we got Matt Schnell and Jimmy Flick. Battle of the two most mediocre flyweights in existence. Matt Schnell has been knocked out a couple times in his last few outings. Steve Erceg touched his chin, put him out. Matthias Nicolau, and then he lost to Cody Durden. So he is 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Granted, he's fighting Brandon Royval, and Brandon Royval fought for the title recently. He is high level. Sumaderji, also not an easy fight. Matthias Nicolau, Steve Erceg, like those are not easy fights. Cody Durden is a little embarrassing to get subbed by, to be honest with you. But he needs a big win, big time. And I really, really don't think that they could have paired him up with someone better than Jimmy Flick, because Jimmy Flick is not the highest caliber. He just lost to Nick Maness, beat Mark Gordon, beat Cody Durden, and Cody Durden. Sorry guys, my cat won't decide whether she wants in or out. So beat Cody Durden, and Durden beat Schnell. Not saying that MMA math means anything, but Matt Schnell is coming off of a lot of losses. His confidence is probably in the fucking trash. He knows he's most likely going to get cut if he doesn't win this fight. He's going to come out guns blazing, I'm sure. Or he might be super timid and doesn't want to get touched again. You know, when Steve Erceg knocked him out, I'm pretty sure it didn't look like he got caught super clean, or it might have been the one before. But I just remember one of his recent losses, like he kind of got touched and like clipped. It didn't look like it was very clean, and he slumped. So I'm gonna go with Jimmy Flick on this one. I think Jimmy Flick is going to put the nail in the coffin. I think either of these guys are potentially in danger of getting their contracts terminated or not renewed or whatever you want to, whatever word you want to use if they don't win this fight. So there's some on the prelims here. There's some pretty high stakes. Not saying that any of these fights are um, championship fight caliber stakes, but you got Timmy who's fighting to stay in the UFC. You got a new UFC newcomer. You got a short notice UFC newcomer. You got both of these guys kind of fighting for their contracts to stay active. So that's how I see the prelims going down. Main card, Ikram Aliskerov and my boy Andre Muniz. I love this fight. I think it's going to be a really fun stylistic matchup. These odds are. I get that Ikram is performing really well, especially in his last few fights, but I don't know what the odds make. The odds makers are underestimating Andre Muniz. He's a tough son of a bitch. And granted, Ikram's 3 fights into the UFC. This is going to be his 4th fight. And imagine being 3 fights into the UFC and getting Robert Whittaker. Like, and Robert Whittaker made it look easy. He was TKO'd in the first round. But imagine 3 fights into the UFC and they feed you to the Reaper. Crazy. He obviously would have liked that fight to go different, but these odds to me are crazy. He's fought some pretty high level guys in his last few handful of fights too. Uriah Hall, that was before he really made his decline. Brandon Allen, as Brandon Allen was surging in 2023. Paul Craig, Jun Young Park. So he's had some tough matchups, and Ikram's going to be no different. I think Ikram's going to get it done, but I don't agree with these odds at all. I don't think that Ikram's going to get Andre out of there easy. I think it's going to be a decision win. I don't think there's going to be a TKO. So I see Ikram getting it done, but I don't see it being an easy fight at all. I think Andre Muniz is probably a little irritated that he's that big of an underdog. I'd be pissed too. But he is 15-2, and he's only lost to Robert Whittaker. So to a certain extent, I understand where the odds makers are coming from. But as far as strength of schedule, Andre's got a much better resume. Like, he's fought some battle-tested guys, whereas Ikram, sure, he lost to Robert Whittaker, and Whittaker is one of the best welterweights in the division, but or middleweight, excuse me. I was getting middleweight and welterweight mixed up. I'm kind of stupid. But, as far as strength of schedule is as in quantity goes, Muniz has fought quantity more high-level fighters. Ikram obviously has fought Robert Whittaker, who is at the top of the mountain in middleweight and has been for years. But I see him getting it done, but it's going to be a tough one. All right, Nicholas Dalby and Randy Brown. Guys, I'm going to kill my cat. Hey, will you make your mind up? Nicholas Dalby and Randy Brown. So I said it in my last video where I covered this card. I don't understand how Randy Brown makes 170. He's shredded. He has like 0 body fat. He's 6'3". And I just don't get how he makes 170. It blows my fucking mind every time I see him step on the scale. But this is going to be this stylistically is a really cool matchup. Nicholas Dalby is kind of a bulky, dense, very explosive fighter, and then you got Randy Brown, who is a elusive striker who does a really good job of staying behind his punches, fighting at distance. Um, I think Randy Brown is probably going to get it done, but for some reason, something's telling me that Dalby's going to get it done. So Dalby, Warley Alves, Muslim Salikov. That's a big win right there. Muslim. That's a tough fight. Gabriel Bonfim. That's a tough fight too. He's a up and coming prospect. He pretty sure Bonfim is in the UFC just in the last couple years. After he won on his Dana White Contender Series fight, and then Renat Fakhretdinov. That is a tough fight too. So Nicholas Dalby's last handful of fights have been very tough opponents. And then Randy Brown lost to Brian Battle in his last fight. Brian Battle has been doing super well since he came off the Ultimate Fighter. Actually, I believe he just lost for his first time, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to get too sidetracked here, but I don't want to talk out of my ass. Just kidding. I think this was just a close decision. I can't remember how this fight went, to be completely honest with you. But Randy Brown has also beat Muslim Salikov. So both of these guys have beat Muslim. Randy Brown's coming off of a loss to Brian Battle. Before then, his last loss was in 2023 against JDM, who's about to fight Bilal for the title. So strength of schedule wise, both of these guys have fought some tough opponents and lost a couple tough fights. But something's telling me that Nicholas Dalby's going to get it done. And who knows, I might come in here tomorrow night and tell you that I was wrong and Randy Brown flatlines him. Who knows? But something in my gut's telling me that Dalby's going to get it done. He kind of reminds me of a Rafael Fiziev, just a little less psycho. And then we got Michel Pereira and Abus Magomedov. Abus looked a little rough in his weight cut, not gonna lie. He was the first one on the scale, but he looked a little. He looks pissed. He's like, "Give me some water, brother." Yeah, he looks not fantastic, and he's a big boy. How he makes 185, who the fuck knows? How he makes 185, who the fuck? Both of these guys, how are they middleweights? I don't understand. Both these guys are easily walking around at 205. No doubt in my fucking mind. I think Abbas is probably going to get it done. Michel Pereira tends to. He's very explosive and he does have technique, but he almost like has too much fun in there. He after like round one or halfway through round one, it seems like he just throws his game plan out the window and just starts doing crazy shit, backflips and dancing and taunting. And Abbas is obviously Abbas is not gonna entertain that. Like, not that any of Michelle's opponents have in the past, but if Michelle comes out and does any of that shit, I see this ending pretty quickly. But when he's focused and sticks to his game plan, he's a motherfucker to deal with. He's strong as shit, super explosive. His leg kicks are thunderous. But again, he pretty much never sticks to his game plan. He just has too much fun in there, which all power to you, man. But we're gonna go with Mr. Magomedov in this one. I think he's gonna get it done via TKO in the second round. All right, and then moving on to an interesting one now. I think this one was going to be interesting no matter what because because of Onama, and everyone just kind of wants to see Onama. I think at least I want to see Onama get flatlined because of his celebration and his last win. Um, and I probably shouldn't be as mad as I am, but for some reason it just rubbed me wrong. It's like at least be creative enough to create your own celebration. Like Tai Tuivasa has his own. Fucking Izzy has had his own. Jordan Levitt, as weird as his is his own. He fucking does the splits and twerks. Onama just poached Izzy's and made it lackluster and cringy as fuck. So before the weigh-ins, I would have said Giga all day, but we now know that Giga was overweight by 2 pounds, and I'm not saying that that entirely changes the outcome of this fight. Onama looked like he was, going through it on the scale. It didn't look like Onama had a super easy weight cut himself. But if I'm not mistaken, we've seen Giga look really bad on the scale before and then go in and perform very well on Saturday night. So even though I like to see how people look on the scale and if they look bad or not, it certainly influences somewhat of my decision making. But personally, I'm a bit clouded in this one because I want to see Onama lose so bad. And Giga's 1-2 in his last 3 fights. He's had a hell of a resume. This one's a toss up for me, but I'm gonna go Giga. Giga has had some high profile fights. He has matched up against some savages. He's been in a main event before. Onama, you know, towards the top of the bill. Not sure if that's going to play anything into it, but I like Giga. I hope Giga wins. We'll see. All right, Xing Ming Yang and Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith, it's going to be his last fight in the UFC. Thank Christ. I don't think anybody wanted to see him fight again. It might just be me, but I've never been a huge fan of Anthony Smith. He makes some not Michael Chandler level stupid decisions as far as fight IQ goes, but I feel like he's up there. He's got terrible tattoos. I just get pissed off every time I look at him. And all of those are personal things, right? But I hope that he goes out emphatically in a burning fire in a loss. Zhang is very, very explosive. Anthony Smith is old and not explosive. He's a one-trick pony. He's been fighting the same way for the last 10 fucking years. If he gets you on the ground, you're in trouble. He's got good jiu-jitsu. Everyone knows that. If he's smart, he'll stay away from the ground game. He won't play any of that. Let's get up against the fence, clinch stuff. It would be a mistake if he did, in my opinion. I hope Zhang keeps things in the middle of the octagon and doesn't engage in the jiu-jitsu. I don't want Anthony Smith to have a way to squeak out a dub. But it sounds harsh. I really don't hate him that much, but he's needed to retire for multiple fights at this point and somehow just keep squeaking out wins somehow, some way. But I'm going to take Zhang in this one. I don't think Anthony Smith is going to get it done in his final fight. The only thing that leads me to next is, fuck, I hope that he does win. Oh, I circled the wrong cat. I hope that he does win because then we won't have to see him again. But I could see him lose and then him not want to end on a loss and us have to watch another Lionheart fight 6 months down the road when he tries to make his last walk yet again. So I hope Smith wins so that we don't see him again, but Zhang is my official pick as far as who I think will actually win this fight. And then the main event, been some cool back and forth between these two. They've certainly built this fight up a good bit. Ian is like, he trains in Brazil at Shoot the Box. So I think even before he moved down to Brazil, he spoke it pretty fluently, but he's definitely gotten under Carlos's skin a little bit with all the Brazilian talk. But they've both built this fight up pretty good for their main event. I like Ian Gary in this one, even though he's coming off a loss with Shavkat. I think that loss was probably very beneficial for him. Probably gained a lot of knowledge and leveled up big time. He doesn't seem like the type of guy to take a loss like that and then not implement changes to fix the gaps that he saw. So I think he gained a wealth of knowledge in that Shavkat fight, even though he lost. And I know Carlos Prates is on a fucking mean streak right now. I don't think he's lost since he's been in the UFC. 5 fights. Yeah, 5 fights in the UFC, no losses. So this is, I think a lot of people are very excited to see this fight, including myself. I think Ian's going to get it done. I don't know how he's going to get it done. Both these guys are there's some bad blood. So both these guys want to knock each other out. Do I think that's going to happen? Not necessarily, but it could. I think if someone's getting knocked out, it's going to be Ian Gary. I don't think that Carlos Prates is going to get knocked out. I think if Ian Gary finishes this fight, it's going to be by way of a submission. I don't think that Ian Gary is going to knock him out. I don't think a TKO is on the books for Gary, but I do think a submission could potentially be the case. If not, I see Ian edging out a decision. I'm not sure if that's the way most people want the fight to go. I know I want to see someone get knocked out or subbed, but in reality, if Prates does not knock out Ian Gary, I don't see how he wins. I think Ian Gary is a much more well-rounded fighter when it gets into the clinch, when it gets to the ground, those transition periods. So I'm going to go with Ian Gary. That might be a hot take for some people, but I like where he's at. He seems very motivated. I'm pumped. It's going to be a fun fight. I'll most likely go live after the fight and give immediate reactions and break down the card. So be on the lookout for that. And then we'll put out a video the next day, just recapping the whole card and the whole night. But these are my predictions. Historically, I'm hit or miss. I either hit them all or hit none of them. So very interested to see how all these matchups shake out. But we'll catch you in the next video. Peace.